The day you save your first $10,000, something weird starts to happen. You stop worrying about small bills, you stop needing credit cards to survive, and you start making decisions like a completely different person. Not because you're rich or anything, but because you finally have options. So let me tell you exactly what changes after you save your first $10,000 because it's way deeper than just a number. So before I saved $10,000, my relationship with money felt like I was one problem away from total disaster. And even when I got paid, I felt happy for like a few minutes and then reality would hit. I would have to pay my bills, buy groceries, gas, really just take care of my life. It was like my paycheck didn't even get to touch my hand and it was already gone. And the crazy part is, everything felt expensive. It didn't matter what I did. I was losing money faster than I was actually making it. So when that money ran out, life felt heavy. And the funny thing is, once you start running out of money, even the smallest emergency can feel like a big problem. But getting your first $10,000 is not easy, right? Especially when the system is specifically created to keep you spending. And for some reason, there's always something that pops up that needs your money. So the longer you stay in that paycheck to paycheck mode, the easier it is for you to feel like the only way to save more money is to make more money, especially when it's really slow at first, so there's no incentive to do it. But here's the truth. Saving your first $10,000 is not about having a perfect month. It's about creating a system that works for you even when life is annoying. So now let me tell you exactly what changes once you save your first $10,000. Number one, confidence. The first thing that happens to you is when you build your first $10,000 is you become more confident. And the reason that happened is you have proven to yourself that you can be consistent. You can build anything you want and stick it through to see end result. And one of the coolest things that usually happen is you get your freedom back. And what do I mean? Well, before you had your first $10,000, you was a little bit stingy and we all know it. You didn't want to go out with your friend as much as you used to. Whenever your friend make plans, you have to save money, you're not trying to overspend. Well, that's because you're in survival mode. But now that you have your first $10,000, you're thriving. You're no longer in survival mode. So now you're the one making plans to go out with your friend. You're the one trying to hang out with families. And most of all, you're the one saying no to your employers if they're trying to have you work extra hours because you have the confidence to say no. You're not in a position where not only can you defend yourself, but you can protect yourself from anyone who's trying to take advantage of you because you don't need to please anyone. You don't need anyone's validation because you have already proven to yourself that whatever you want to do, you can make it possible because you have already proven that you are a consistent individual. And that will not only apply to your entire lifestyle, it will also be applied to how you make decisions on a day-to-day basis. Number two, you become harder to manipulate. So the second thing that happens is when you save your first $10,000 is you become way harder to manipulate. That's because when you were broke, you were operating from a place of urgency and needs. You ever seen somebody who's broke? You ever seen somebody who's broke? You see how needy they get? You see how desperate they are? If you tell them to jump, they ask you how high. Most of it, like you can be so broke to the point that you're willing to sell your soul just so you can try to make a living for yourself. And we've seen people do that all the time, and you've heard people do that all the time. And that's what you call manipulation. And the thing about manipulation is it's usually from a place of feeling like you cannot leave, right? So if it feels impossible to leave, it is way easier for people to manipulate you. Whereas if you have your finances together, you're not in a position where you don't feel you need to please anyone. Anyone who's trying to manipulate you, anyone who's trying to take advantage of you, especially like your employers, for example, if you act like you need them more than they need you, they will take advantage. They'll ask you to stay longer hours. They'll ask you to pick up extra shift. They'll have you do all these extra stuff, not because they're paying you more, by the way, because they know that you need them more than you need them. If you save your first $10,000, you have that buffer. You can easily walk out because you do not need them. Same goes for like relationship or friendship. If you're in a relationship, it no longer serves you. You feel like your partner's being manipulative, your partner's taking advantage of you, you can easily walk out. Again, manipulation comes from a place of you not having the ability to walk away. But once you have your first $10,000, it does not matter what the situation is, you can walk away. Number three, the power to say no. So let me ask you guys this, right? And I hate I have to ask this, but have you ever been in a position where you felt like you needed to kiss ass just so you can survive? And I know a lot of you guys are going to try to act all innocent in the comment, but let's be realistic. We all have done it, except for me, by the way, but we've all have done it. And the reason you do that is because you need money. Before you had $10,000 saved, right? You always had to think about the consequences before you even try to think about standing up for yourself. A good example would be, right? Let's say your boss asks you to stay some extra hours tonight. You might not want to because you might be tired, or maybe you want to go out with your friend that night. But guess what? You're going to say yes. And the reason is because you know if you say no, they're going to sanction you. Your hours is going to get cut. Your paycheck is going to look weaker. And now it completely creates an entire new problem for you. And that's the thing about being broke, right? It makes you flexible in one of the worst way possible. You're now in a position where you have to tolerate things you would not normally do. And really, it's a form of disrespect, right? People will look down on you. People will not respect you. And most of all, people will take advantage of you. So if you had $10,000 saved, your entire energy changes. Now you don't have to tolerate the BS from anybody. You don't have to put up with your boss, and you really do not have to tolerate the level of disrespect. If anyone even opened their mouth, no. And you don't really care about the consequences. You don't care what they have to say. You don't care if they have to make you feel guilty, because guess what? It hit different. Number 4, your goals get bigger. So this is a part nobody likes to talk about, but when you have your first $10,000, you immediately unlock a lot of opportunities, because you have to think about it, right? For most people who don't have that kind of money, their goals tend to be small on purpose. And it's not because they're not ambitious or anything, but because they do not have the ability to think like that. When you're broke, you're not thinking about long term. You're on survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you're trying to do everything to stay afloat. So what do? They think about next week and not next year. And that's why when you save your first $10,000, right, it immediately gives you a superpower. Patience. You now have the patience to start working long-term goals. You can now start investing in long-term opportunities. You can start building new skills, start taking online courses, and even switch career if you want to, without feeling like you need something to survive. For some people, they can only invest in short-term goals, right? Not because they're lazy, but because they're desperate. They need to survive right now. Whereas if you have a massive savings, you can think in terms of long term without feeling like you need some sort of temporary win. Number 5, more opportunities for growth. So when you save your first $10,000, it immediately unlocks a growth opportunity for you, because growth needs 3 things that it can literally go without: time, safety, and experiment. So check this out. When you're broke, every hours have to be paid immediately. A good example would be when you go to work, you work your hourlies and you get paid, right? If you're not getting paid immediately, it can feel like it's a waste of time. But that's the problem. Growth have this lagging experiment that you need time so it could be consistent and build over time. And that's where that $10,000 comes in, right? Because it puts you in a position where you can study, build, improve your skills without feeling like you're being held behind. And second, it gives you the safety to make mistakes. Because the thing is, now that you have this massive saving, it puts you in a position where you could take a little bit more risk, because they often say, right, the higher the risk, the higher the return, which means you can now test things, fail, and learn from your mistakes so you can improve in those skills. And that's usually how people make progress, right? Because if you're not making any mistakes, you're not learning anything. And if you're not learning anything, you're not improving. And the third thing is, you're now investing in input, not just outcome. Like when you're in survival mode, all you care about is your bills, your rent, your groceries, trying to make ends meet. So you're pretty much paying to stay alive. Whereas if you invest in input, you're focused on building skills, building your network, working on your mindset, and improving your craft. So like that, you're in a position where you're learning stuff that's going to make you more money. So yeah, saving $10,000 doesn't make you rich or anything, but it does put you in a position where you have time to learn, invest in new things that you care about, and also take more risks. And that's why everything changes once you save it. So if you guys gain any value from today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and push the notification bell for more on sustainable fashion, personal finance, and minimalism. I'll see you guys on my next video.